people of Burnie in particular.
The honourable member for Kooyong. Order. The House will come to order.
Mr. Speaker, my question is addressed to the Prime Minister, and it flows from the remarks he just uttered prior to the suspension of the member for Bennelong about fops, frauds, cheats,
Order.
Mississippi riverboat gamblers, all of which he has epitomised at various times.
The member for Kooyong will get to his question.
Is it a fact that the Prime Minister recently invested $500,000 in a piggery, piggery company once owned by former Labor Minister John Brown? Is it further a fact that the company has breached the ASC's reporting requirements, just as he failed to file his tax return? How does he account for this continuing decline in standards, or is this just the same old Keating thuggery of do as I say but not as I do?
The Honourable Prime Minister. Order.
Speaker, it's very interesting that in a declaration of interest which I've been happy to make in this place, Dr Hewson used Senator Boehm, who voted against the declaration of interest in the Senate, a person who was involved in the Patrick stock market scandal of the 1970s, who was involved in the stock market scandal of the 1970s and escaped prosecution on a technicality.
The member for Mitchell on a point of order.
Relevance, Mr. Speaker. This sentence is not relevant.
Order. There is no point of order. The member for Mitchell will resume his seat.
And because of that, the member for Kooyong has the gall to ask me a question in the House referring to supposedly the assets which I have and have invested in a business which produces pig meat. Now, Mr. Speaker, let me just say that investment is about equal to the price of one 365 GTB Ferrari, like Dr Hewson's has, or one Lamborghini Miura like he has, or the 3 Rolls-Royces, 3 Mercedes-Benz and the Rolls-Royce, let alone the $3 million property in Bellevue Hill, or the $1.5 million property in Bowral. And perhaps the Leader of the Opposition, perhaps the member for Kooyong can tell the last Leader of the Opposition to tell us exactly about how he left here in 1983 as an officer serving a treasurer and came back in 1987 with $5 million worth of assets, and how he's worked all sides of the streets throughout the portals of Sydney business to advance himself politically and commercially. Now, Mr. Speaker, it is true that my return of information on the company was late, and I regret that, and it shouldn't have been.
Order.
But, Mr. Speaker, and it shouldn't have been. It was 3 months late. It was not late in 1990. This is not a tax return. This is an information return. Now, Mr. Speaker, you see, it's when the opposition engage in this juvenile muckraking, it's very interesting to see. I had a peek at Dr Hewson's record on the same subject, and what I found there, that Dr Hewson's been late in lodging the returns of his companies as listed in the Parliamentary Register for the past 3 years. For the past 3 years.
Order.
How about that?
How about that? Order. The House will come to order.
His returns for his companies, Brent Mar Holdings and Tabazo Proprietary Limited, were both late this year, due on the 31st of the 1st, 1992, but not lodged until the 3rd of the 2nd, 1992. Last year, Mr. Speaker,
The House will come to order.
Last year, Mr. Speaker,
Order. The House will come to order. Members on my left will.
Last year, the returns for both companies was lodged more than 6 weeks late, due on the 31st of 1st, 91, but not lodged till the 9th of the 3rd, 91. In 1989, this is a long history. In 1989, the return of Brent Mar was even later, not lodged until the 10th of the 4th, 1990, over 3 months late. And for the same year, the return of Tabazo was later still, not lodged until the 19th of April 1990. Now, this is the man who's got Senator Boehm doing his dirty work in the Senate, a man who voted against the Declaration of Interests and through a technicality wasn't prosecuted over his dealings in Patrick Partners in the 1970s. Now, Mr Speaker,
Order. The member for the Leader of the National Party on a point of order.
Standing Order 75 and other standing orders provide that no member is entitled to reflect on a member of the Senate or a member of the other House in very specific terms. I draw your attention to the comments of the Prime Minister and I ask that you rule that he's out of order in that regard.
Order. It might help the debate if the Prime Minister withdrew the remark.
Mr Speaker, they're correct.
Order. The Prime Minister had made some remarks about the member for the Senator Bump that the Prime Minister quotes as correct. If the Prime Minister quotes that his remarks are correct, order. Then he is.
I'll withdraw it and help.
He is saying it's a reflection, but if the Prime Minister withdraws, it helps the debate.
Mr Speaker, if it helps the House to withdraw, Mr Speaker, a few minutes before the Cabinet meeting on pay TV today,
on a point of order.
Before it got underway,
The right honourable member for New England has a point of order.
As you would be aware, our standing orders require matters of this ilk can only be raised in a substantive motion before the Parliament. The comments that are now being made are quite out of order in the context of our standing orders. They can be made under a substantive motion. They cannot be made in any other way.
The right honourable member for New England may not have heard the Prime Minister withdrew the remark.
He hasn't.
Mr Speaker, before the Cabinet meeting on pay TV got underway today, I thought I'd have a look at the interests of the Shadow Treasurer, Mr Reith. He has a company listed as Branley nominees, but guess what? Late again. His 1991 report was lodged late on the 31st of the 1st, 92, not lodged until the 8th of the 4th, 1992. Not lodged until the 8th of the 4th, 1992. Even worse, his company's report for 1990 was late by 10 months, due on the 31st of the 1st, 91, but not lodged until the 4th of the 11th, 1991. Now, Mr Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition came into this Parliament offering a better style of politics, offering to deal with the issues of substance. He has senators doing his dirty work in the Senate, and then he has the member for Keating up doing his question, which is of course an organised question approved by him on these issues, while I've been spending my night organising a new regime for paid television in this country. And spending yesterday in a historic reorganisation of the airline system of this country. So, Mr Speaker, I'll leave it for the public to judge where the quality in Australian life is, where the quality in the Parliament is, for the people on the main game, on the big subjects that matter to people, and where we're not trying to prolong industrial disputes, where we're not talking behind closed doors while enjoining people not to make public comments and involve themselves in a dispute. While all that's going on, the Leader of the Opposition thinks the clever way to pay politics is he should go and have a senator represent him in the Senate and then on radio making these points and then selling the dump to the member for Keating, who you could sell the town hall clock to, obviously. The Sydney Harbour Bridge and a block of flats in Tasmania to go with it, who then gets up and asks the question about this, and what do we find? That Dr Hewson, whose company secretary is his wife, failed to lodge these returns, as did his deputy.